One quick thing I forgot to mention before starting this video is that the modified map is actually available in the link in the description, so if you want to try out Halo 3 with Hitscan, you're more than welcome to click that link and see how you like it. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. Hitscan or Projectile? A somewhat fiercely debated topic between Halo fans, specifically more pro players, as some prefer the more predictable, instantaneous nature of Hitscan, while others prefer Projectile, which requires players to lead their shots at farther distances. Ever since the MCC was released back in 2014, the Halo 3 battle rifle has become notorious both to casual and competitive players as a much more inconsistent weapon than it was in the original 360 game. Some people even wish this weapon was more like Halo 2's version of the gun, which used Hitscan over the projectile-based system of its predecessor, Halo CE, and its successor, Halo 3. While the inconsistency of the battle rifle in Halo 3 isn't necessarily at the fault of Halo 3, and more of a product of the jump from 30 FPS in the original Xbox 360 version of the game to 60 FPS in MCC, what if Halo 3 had Hitscan? Now before we dive straight into this, I have to address some of the history behind my idea for this video and some of the upcoming patches for the MCC. Yes, I know that Halo 3's hit detection is being fixed as of ODST's launch on PC, and it felt great in the flight, but I still wanted to make this video as I wanted to see how Halo 3 would play with true Halo 2-esque Hitscan. Now I'm sure you saw that and you're thinking, Vigi, what do you mean by Hitscan? Well, let me explain. So, true Hitscan determines where you're pointing your weapon and casts what is essentially an invisible ray in that direction when shot, which when comes into contact with the target, causes damage and no actual projectile is spawned. Projectile systems, however, actually render a true projectile in an engine that can have various speeds that can be altered. So while Halo 2, Halo Reach, Halo 4, and Halo 5 may feel like they have true hitscan weapons, this actually isn't the case. Technically, every single Halo game uses projectile, except the titles I mentioned above use much faster projectile speeds that kind of emulate hitscan in a way, while Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 3 use slower projectile speeds to increase the need for players to lead their shots. This can be seen in the files as Halo 3's BR uses a much slower projectile speed of 180 world units per second, while Halo 2 on the other hand uses a much faster projectile speed of 400 world units per second, a little more than double that of Halo 3. In fact, this speed even increases in later games, with Halo Reach using projectile speeds in the thousands. So then now you may assume, so all you have to do is up Halo 3's projectile speeds to match Halo 2's, and boom, Halo 3 has Hitscan. And I have to tell you, with my newfound knowledge of Halo modding, thanks to my work on Fall of Reach Infinite, that you are painfully correct. So now that I knew I was going to use Halo 2's exact projectile speeds for this experiment, since that version of the BR is probably the most highly regarded, I changed the projectile speeds for almost every gun to match that of Halo 2. Then, I asked my good friend RoyalZealot24 to help test out my little idea, and as a reference, we decided to play using Halo 3's original projectile settings on Heretic as a baseline, starting with the BR and SMG as a little nod to Halo 2, both in the map we selected and the loadout. Also, to see how Hitscan affects both the keyboard and mouse and controller players, I used my Xbox controller while Zealot used keyboard and mouse. To my surprise, the match was pretty even. Both of us weren't too far apart for the most part in kills, and Zealot even managed to get a killing spree against me. In the end, it was a fairly close game, with me winning with 15 kills and Zealot not too far behind with 11 kills, a big surprise to us both. However, we did notice just how long the TTK was, averaging about 7 shots with the BR, and just feeling that wonky Halo 3 MCC hit detection overall. So keeping that in mind, it was time for the true test, playing Halo 3 with Halo 2's Hitscan. I swapped out the vanilla Heretic map with my modded version that included the projectile speed changes, as did Zealot, and we hopped back in for round 2. Almost immediately, I noticed just how much more responsive and accurate the BR was. It was almost, dare I say, too accurate? Contrary to the last game, I was essentially just walking around the map, easily 4 or 5 shotting Zealot with little to no effort before he could even react. The tables were turned dramatically in my favor, and well, it just felt kind of unfair, and in the end, I ended the game with 15 kills, and Zealot was only able to get 3. While we were going to play a match of Fiesta after this test to try out some more weapons, Zealot wasn't really up to it and said, and I quote, "I'm never playing this BS again," and I don't blame him. So now that the true test was done, why were the results so radically different here? What happened that made me gain such a huge upper hand against Zealot after the Hitscan was implemented? Shouldn't the faster projectile speeds have made him as a keyboard and mouse player much more accurate? These are all questions that lingered in my mind after the match, and, well, I think I've come up with a good explanation as to why. So essentially what I've identified is that the projectile speed not only has a significant impact on the speed of the bullets, obviously, but also increases the effectiveness of aim assist. So what do I mean by this? While increasing the speed of projectiles doesn't change the actual aim assist values per se, it does now make aim assist way more competent than before. Looking back to vanilla Halo 3, due to the slower projectiles, you can't always count on getting shots to land when your reticle is red, and you have to lead your shots, which can be much more difficult at times on a controller since the aim assist wants to focus you in directly on the enemy player, which will not always result in successful shots. Here, well, you don't have to lead your shots, meaning that whenever your crosshair is red, you will almost always hit your target dead on, meaning now on controller, you can let aim assist take greater control since leading is no longer necessary. This leads the bullets to feeling more like lasers, as opposers to Hitscan like to say, and, well, this puts the mouse and keyboard player at a disadvantage since it's harder to land shots as consistently as a player with aim assist. This is what we saw with Reach's competitive playlist along with Halo 2 and Halo 2 Anniversary. Because Halo 3 has slower projectile speeds than many of the other Halo games and is more balanced between keyboard and mouse and controller players, it's easy to see why Halo 3 is the most popular Halo game on PC at the moment, with Halo 2 being one of the hardest to find matches in. In fact, all the Halo 2 footage in this video was taken from Project Cartographer because I just couldn't find any matches in Halo 2 Classic. Well, now that we know how Hitscan would function in Halo 3, let's take a look at what 343 did to fix Halo 3 MCC's broken hit detection to make it feel more responsive like its 360 counterpart without altering any of the projectile speeds. Essentially, when Halo 3 was brought to MCC back in 2014, 343 upped the frame rate cap for the game to 60 FPS from 30 FPS, and when it came to PC, they added the option to unlock the frame rate. Now, this was a great change to help the game feel smoother and more modern, but it messed with something very important, the game's tick rate. What is the tick rate, you ask? Well, it's essentially the rate at which the game or server processes updates, but instead of sitting here and explaining exactly what this means, I'm just going to show you using a little sandbox game called Minecraft. So here we are in game, and now as you can see this lovely little cow just running around all like normal. Everything's functioning properly. As you can see, I will plant these seeds, and they will take however long they are normally supposed to grow. And yeah, so this is with the normal tick rate, everything's fine. But what if we were to change it? So all we have to do to change it is go to game rule, then random tick speed, and the base tick speed for Minecraft is about 20, so what if we upped it to 1000? And as you can already see, that just kind of popped up, but what if we were just gonna go ahead and plant a new seed? As you can see, they grow up almost instantaneously. Yeah, it's not really supposed to function like that at all. Our cow still works fine now, but yeah, growing food, yeah, you can do that pretty fast. But what if we were to change the tick speed to something like 100,000, something crazy, right? And we'll just apply that. And now, as you can see, our cow here is completely frozen. Now, let's just see what happens when we punch him. Yeah, that's not... Oh. Yeah, he's kind of... Okay, now he's floating. Oh, okay, now he's kind of going down. Yeah, what happens if you plant seeds now? Oh, that's kind of delayed. So what will go on here? Oh, they grow even faster. And let me grab some wheat. Let me try and draw the cow over here. Yeah, he's not doing so well, is he? So basically my point here is the tick rate actually changes a lot within the environment. It can have a huge impact on pretty much anything, and yeah, so tick rate's important. So as you can see, the tick rate has a huge impact on gameplay and can cause a lot of unforeseen issues in the world, map, or level when messed with. While this is definitely the harder option to approach fixing Halo 3's hit registration for 343, it was definitely the better option, as while they could have just changed the bullet speed values and called it a day, that would have done a huge disservice not only to Halo 3 fans, but also to the game's legacy. This also means that certain tricks and glitches will be possible again like in OG Halo 3, so there's some good news for all you speedrunners and trickers out there. So that about wraps it up for this video, and well, I really enjoyed making this, and I hope you enjoyed it too. I really like making this kind of stuff, so definitely leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed this, as I'd love to make more videos on this, and I really appreciate the feedback, because I have some good ideas for the future. Now, personally, as to whether I think Halo 3 should have Hitscan or not, you can probably guess that my answer is a no. I mean, Halo 3 is a 13-year-old game, pretty much, and I feel like radically changing it at this point would just do a huge disservice to the game's legacy and to the fans of Projectile and Halo 3, so I'm glad they took the harder route of fixing Halo 3's tick rate rather than just simply editing some bullet speed values and calling it a day. This is definitely going to be much more of a quality of life improvement to the MCC, and it's going to make playing Halo 3 on MCC just a way more fun experience overall. But definitely let me know in the comments below whether or not you think Halo 3 should have Hitscan, and well, I guess I'll see you in the next video.